Last week, I made a video reacting to my bold predictions for the 2021 NHL season and basically just roasted myself for the entire video because pretty much every prediction I made didn't come close to happening, but you guys really seemed to enjoy that video. You showed it a ton of support, so I figured why not react to some more of my older videos, and today we're going to be taking a look at my 2021 NHL standings predictions. When I did my standings predictions, I actually did them in 4 separate videos. We went division by division, but in this video I'm just going to mash it all up into one. If you guys enjoy these type of videos where I look back at some of my old predictions and you want to see more like this, then be sure to leave the video a like. That's the best way to show your support, and most importantly, if this is your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and now let's begin. Starting off, taking a look at my Central Division predictions, the bottom 4 teams, the teams I had not making the playoffs, were Chicago, Detroit, Dallas, and Florida. Chicago, Detroit, those 2 teams are already mathematically eliminated, so I'm good there. Dallas is 2 points behind Nashville with the same amount of games played. They both have 2 games left. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there, but it's looking like Dallas is going to miss. And I remember when I made this predictions video, a lot of people were kind of, hating on me a little bit because I had Dallas missing the playoffs after making the Stanley Cup final. And the main reason I thought they were going to miss the playoffs was because they were going to be without Tyler Seguin and Ben Bishop for pretty much the entire season. I mean, Tyler Seguin literally just returned like a couple of games ago. If they had those 2 guys for the entire season, things would probably be different. Now again, they aren't mathematically eliminated yet, and actually looking at the remaining schedule, their 2 games left are against Chicago and Nashville's 2 games left are against Carolina, so you never know, they definitely could still get in, but my prediction of having them miss the playoffs is looking pretty good so far. Now the team from the Central Division that I really slept on, as you can see here, is the Florida Panthers. I had them finishing in 5th place, and if you watch that video, if you go back and watch it, I literally said in the video that I predict Florida to make it every year, and they never do. So this season I'm not going to predict them to make it, and they'll probably make it, and boom, what happened? I pulled the reverse jinx and they finally got into the playoffs. So those are the 4 teams from the Central that I had missing. I think I did okay. I mean, it was relatively easy to pick Chicago and Detroit to miss, but if Dallas misses 2, then I think I did pretty good. Now looking at the 4 teams that I had making the playoffs from the Central: Columbus, Nashville, Tampa, and Carolina. So Columbus, I mean, that was a pretty big yikes. Obviously, they are the worst team in the Central Division. They're below both Detroit and Chicago. Now it's easy to look back at that and say, what was I thinking there? But hindsight is 2020. At the time, I don't think it was that far-fetched. They were coming off of an impressive showing in the 2020 play-ins when they beat the Leafs and then lost to Tampa Bay in the round 1 of the playoffs, and they were pretty much bringing the same team back. I made this predictions video before all the Pierre-Luc Dubois stuff, so maybe that would have changed my thought process, but nonetheless, still looking back at that, it's a pretty big yikes. And then 3rd, I had Nashville. That's looking like an okay prediction. They're likely going to finish 4th unless Dallas catches them. And then in the top 2, Tampa, Carolina. I mean, pretty much every single person on the planet had those 2 teams as the teams that were going to finish in the top 2. Now, most people had Tampa at 1 and Carolina at 2. I had it reversed, and hey, that prediction looks pretty good. Carolina has already clinched the Central Division, and it's likely they're going to win the President's Trophy as well, so they're going to have home ice advantage throughout the entirety of the playoffs. So those are my Central Division picks. Overall, I don't think I did too bad, with the exception of picking Columbus to make it and picking Florida to miss. I likely got 3 out of 4 when it comes to the playoff teams, again, depending on what happens with Dallas and Nashville, but hey, I'll take that. Moving on now, taking a look at my East Division predictions, the bottom 4 teams I had New Jersey, Buffalo, the Islanders, and the Rangers. New Jersey and Buffalo, pretty easy picks there, same as Chicago and Detroit in the Central. Pretty much everybody had those 2 teams pegged as the bottom 2 teams in this division, and that's what happened. Now, the Islanders at 6. I'm sorry, Islanders fans, I sleep on this team way too much. I'm sure you guys have noticed it. I don't know what it is. I just seem to never have faith in the Islanders, and I'm always proven wrong by them. It's not that I thought they were going to be a really bad team. I just didn't have them making the playoffs. I thought there was going to be 4 teams in the East better, but hey, I was wrong about the Islanders once again, and they are going to make the playoffs. All likelihood, they're going to finish 4th and play the Penguins, so that should be a pretty exciting matchup. It usually always is. And then the Rangers in 5th. I mean, that's looking like a pretty solid prediction because as of today, they are 5th in the division with 1 game left. They're likely going to finish there. Now looking at the teams from the East Division I had making the playoffs, the Boston Bruins, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Washington Capitals, and the Philadelphia Flyers. So it's looking pretty good. Boston, Pittsburgh, Washington, they are all clinched. They're all making the playoffs. That one pick though, I had Philly actually winning the East Division. you can't win them all. That was a pretty bad prediction looking back at it now. Relative to the expectations that I had for every team, I would definitely say Philadelphia has been the most disappointing team of the season. I had really high expectations for them. I should have known better though, because they are in this weird pattern where they make the playoffs one year and then they miss the next, and then they make it and they miss, and it goes back a long time. And given the fact that they made the playoffs last year, I should have known that they were going to continue the pattern and miss this year. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they are going to make the playoffs next year, 100% confirmed. So those were my East Division predictions heading into the season, and similar to the Central, I think I did pretty good here. I got 3 of 4 playoff teams correct. I'll take that. Continuing on now, looking at my West Division predictions, I'm just going to put all 8 up on the screen now. We're not going to look at it in 2 separate parts like the 4 teams I had missing first, because this was a pretty easy division to predict heading into the season. Literally everybody on the planet had Colorado, Vegas, and St. Louis making it, and then there was kind of one spot where you could have went a lot of different ways with it. And for that one extra spot that was not Colorado, Vegas, or St. Louis, I got it wrong. As you can see here, I predicted the Arizona Coyotes to make the playoffs, and well, they didn't. It is what it is. I didn't expect to get 4 to 4 in any division really, but the team I slept on from the West is obviously the Minnesota Wild, who have had just an incredible season. You look at the top 3 teams in the West, you got Vegas with 78 points, Colorado with 74, Minnesota with 73, and then there's a huge drop off as St. Louis only has 57. So the Minnesota Wild were a significantly better team this season than the St. Louis Blues, and I don't think a lot of people would have expected that, and they're not even that far behind Colorado. Colorado does have a game in hand, but Minnesota is only 1 point back. So big shout out to the Minnesota Wild. I said this multiple times on the channel throughout the season, but they quickly became one of my favorite teams to watch. They're a really fun team, which is definitely not something you could have said about the Minnesota Wild pretty much for the past decade, and I think a lot of that has to do with Kirill Kaprizov. He's a game breaker offensively. I think he scored like 10 goals in his past 10 games now. He's just insane. So sleeping on the Minnesota Wild as much as I did was definitely my this guy's an idiot moment for the West Division, but I'm happy to have gotten that wrong, because the Minnesota Wild fans, they deserve to have a team like this finally. So like the Central and like the East Division, I predicted 3 of 4 playoff teams correct for the West Division. Again, I'm happy with that. I think 75% is pretty good, especially when you consider how my predictions usually go. And now to finish out the video, looking at my predictions for the North Division, aka the Canadian Division heading into the season. First, looking at the 3 teams I had missing the playoffs, the Senators, the Canucks, and the Winnipeg Jets. The Ottawa Senators were the lock to miss the playoffs from this division, and then everything outside of Ottawa was kind of a question mark. I went with the Canucks as the next worst team after Ottawa, and I'm pretty happy with that, because as of right now, they actually are last place in the North Division. They're actually behind Ottawa, but that's because they only have 48 games played. And then in 5th place, this was definitely my miss from the Canadian Division. I had the Winnipeg Jets, and currently they're 3rd in the division. They've already clinched a playoff spot. I just really wasn't confident in their blue line, and I thought the Calgary Flames got a lot better over the offseason and that they would kind of pass over them, but obviously I got that wrong. I should have known with Connor Hellebuck in it, they would have at least got in. Now looking at the 4 teams I had making it from the North Division, Edmonton, Calgary, Montreal, and Toronto. So out of those 4 teams, I was still kind of sleeping on Edmonton a little bit, only having them in 4th. They are currently in 2nd, and that's where they're going to finish. I really wasn't all that confident in the Oilers' goaltending heading into the season. Little did I know Mike Smith was going to turn back the clock and play like a Vezina candidate, so I'm okay with being wrong on that. At least I didn't have them missing the playoffs. The Calgary Flames at number 3, that was the playoff team I got wrong from this division. I feel like a lot of people were wrong about the Calgary Flames. They have definitely had a really disappointing season. I think we may have overhyped their offseason a little bit too much. Chris Tanev has definitely been a really nice addition. He's been really good for Calgary this season. Jacob Markstrom, not as much. He's been kind of up and down. Just a weird year for Calgary. I think that team definitely has to make some changes, and I'm not just talking about small little changes either. Like, I think one of the core guys has to go. I think they're going to shake that core up. Number 2, I had the Canadians. I definitely overhyped them a little bit too much heading into the season, and even after their hot start to the season, I overhyped them as well. Now, they obviously are still going to make the playoffs, but they're going to finish 4th, and I think it's going to be really, really tough for them in the first round against Toronto. They just haven't played them well this year. And then in 1st place, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Most people, I would say, had Toronto pegged as the best team in the North Division heading into the season, and this year they have definitely been far and away the best team in that division. So that is going to wrap up today's video of me reacting to and looking back at my predictions for the standings heading into the 2021 NHL season. If you guys tried to predict the standings for this season before the year started like I did, then let me know down below in the comment section which was one of your predictions you were most proud of and one that you were maybe not so proud of. For me, I think the one I'm most happy with is probably predicting Carolina to win the Central Division, and the one I'm not as happy with would probably be predicting Philadelphia to win the East. Like I said at the start of the video, if you guys do want to see more stuff like this where I react to some of my older videos, then be sure to leave this video a like. That is the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all in the next video.